Tonight, Taylor Bachrach had a chance to speak to the CEO of Air Canada about accessibility issues for airlines. Plus, the city and the BC Wildfire Service are gearing up for what's expected to be a devastating wildfire season. And a group of Japanese exchange students have been in Prince George, amongst other places, over the past 2 weeks, exploring what Canada has to offer. Good evening, I'm Eddie Huband and welcome to CKPG News. Our top story tonight, it's been a tumultuous few years for Canada's airline industry, facing criticism on several fronts, including accessibility. An Air Canada CEO spoke at the Federal Transport Committee hearings in Ottawa on Tuesday in regards to their treatment of peaceful people with disabilities. MP for Skeena-Bulkley Valley, Taylor Bachrach, sits on the committee and told us what he heard from the CEO of the country's biggest airline. Anna Burles has tonight's top story.
Canadian airlines have been under scrutiny over the last year for their treatment of persons with disabilities, and one story that made national news was that of Rodney Hodgins, a Prince George man who was forced to drag himself off of an Air Canada plane in Las Vegas. And the NDP's transport critic Taylor Bachrach had the chance to question Air Canada's CEO.
My questions for the CEO were really around what his company is doing and whether he would support a stronger regulatory system. In my view, it's not enough to simply rely on companies like Air Canada and WestJet to voluntarily do the right thing. We need national standards and regulations that are properly enforced so that there can't be laggards. There can't be companies that don't measure up to the bar and continue to treat people with disabilities with such disrespect.
However, the CEO of Air Canada would not commit either way to whether stronger regulations are needed.
Again, I'm looking at it from Air Canada's perspective. We're committed to this, and you've heard all the actions we're putting in place and our commitment to continue to improve. Hopefully other airlines follow our lead, and certainly we're willing to share with other airlines our processes as well.
Bachrach says that the problem is that the airlines need to recognize that this is a big problem.
What we need is for these companies to admit that this is a big problem, that many of the problems go unreported by people with disabilities, and that we have, as a country, we have a lot of work to do, even to catch up to other jurisdictions.
Michael Russo reaffirmed the company's commitment to their passengers and also made an apology.
We are well aware of the effects that disruption has on our customers with disabilities. When we fail, we are incredibly disappointed because it affects a person's quality of life. In these cases, we apologize and we take responsibility.
Bachrach says the answer is clear.
What we heard from disability advocates is that we already know what needs to be done. It's very clear that we need better national standards that are codified in regulation and properly enforced, and that we need better data as well.
Adam Burles, CKPG News.
The BC government is providing $875,000 to support research aimed at improving sustainability in the airline industry. One study will collect carbon emissions data from BC's regional airports with the goal of getting all of them to net zero by 2030. Another will look at accelerating the development of sustainable low-carbon aviation fuels, something Premier David Eby says is necessary for the future of air travel. In other news, one person has been pronounced dead after a tanker truck carrying explosive material caught fire. This happened early Tuesday morning on Gibraltar Mine Road in McNeese Lake. RCMP say the vehicle was fully engulfed in flames, killing the male driver. The RCMP's explosive disposal unit was called in as a result. The blaze closed the highway for several hours as Mounties conducted their investigation, but the deceased's name will not be released. The construction industry is one that was considered essential during the pandemic, but it also created a sense of isolation on the job site, and that has resulted in an increase in mental health concerns. So a program has been created to provide mental health supports to the industry. Cheryl Jan reports.
The number one series of drugs that are prescribed by doctors are drugs for depression, anxiety, ADHD on every single plan.
That's the president of the Independent Contractors and Businesses Association talking about the state of the construction industry, which began in earnest through the course of COVID.
We are going through a very significant crisis in mental health as it relates to construction. But it's not just construction, it's across our entire economy, and we saw that coming out of COVID. So what we did, we said, okay, we've got to take a different approach. So at ICBA, we developed a mental health program that is designed specifically for construction professionals.
But the challenge is, as Chris Gardner says, the industry is predominantly male-oriented, and men are not really renowned for talking about their emotions.
Right now we have 10,000 people in British Columbia enrolled in that program. So we're happy about the impact we're starting to have. So now what we see is more people, and not only in construction, but across our economy, being more willing to talk about challenges and struggles with mental health. And so now the challenge is making sure they have timely access to psychologists and counselors to help them work through these challenges.
Another challenge, strains on the healthcare system from all angles, not just mental health.
So we do have to start taking a different approach, being a little bit more innovative in how we provide access to those services and ensuring that people have the services available when they need them. Because if you're having a mental health challenge and you're in the middle of a crisis, saying to someone that we're going to get you into a counselor or psychologist 4 or 5 or 6 months from now, that's not going to help.
He says there has been progress at the head end, getting workers to realize they have something they need to address, but more work needs to be done at the tail end. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
All the interested parties locally are gearing up for another wildfire season. Some would say it never ended from last year. In fact, last year, the Prince George Fire Centre was home to the greatest number of fires, and it's looking like more of the same this time around. Cheryl Jan reporting once again.
A Category 2 and 3 burning ban will kick in next week, remarkably early in the wildfire season.
It's not unheard of to have an early open fire prohibition. In 2020, we did put on, with the Prince George Fire Centre, a Category 2 and Category 3 open fire ban about mid-April.
In the meantime, the city is already preparing for wildfire season, staging meetings to ensure everyone from the fire department to the communications folks are ready.
I think there's no doubt that within the province, I think provincially we're gearing up. Certainly within the city, we know that we play a key role every year in evacuation response. I have no doubt that we're going to be doing the same this year.
The intense drought experienced in the region is a serious cause for concern for wildfire officials. But as yet, they have yet to kick in the Emergency Operations Centre.
Really, we're at a heightened level of awareness right now anyways. We're doing our pre-season planning. That in smaller communities that don't have those positions might be done at a level 1 EOC. We will likely open our EOC as soon as the first major fire of the season starts, in preparation for the possibility of receiving evacuees.
This is the time of year people in this region start thinking about camping or heading to the cabin. This early ban will not affect them. Yet.
So campfires, personal campfires of that 1/2 meter high by 1/2 meter wide are not included in the prohibition at this time, but other activities are. So like fireworks, sky lanterns, burn barrels, and burn cages. Those are included with the Category 2 burn ban, as well as the Category 3, which are kind of those larger pile burns that you see a lot of folks doing to clear up some of the fuels.
The city says unless the fires are used for warmth or for cooking, the fire department will move in and extinguish the fire. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
Prince George has seen hundreds of international visitors recently, and during the last 2 weeks, we've welcomed a class of Japanese high school students as part of an annual exchange program. Tommy Osborne caught up with several of the students to see how they're enjoying Canada.
A class of Japanese high school students from Tokyo were in for a bit of a culture shock when they first landed in Prince George last week. Spending the last 2 weeks trying various activities and seeing what our country has to offer, several students said they've really enjoyed the experience so far.
Tim Horton is very good, and yeah, I like the food and the people is very kindful to me, so I love it.
I like it pudding. Pudding is very good. I like this taste. I love maple syrup, and so Canadian people. So Canadian people is very, very, very kindness and very, very so friendly. I like nature and animals, so it is fun.
During the 2-week exchange, students have seen a wide variety of what Canada has to offer. Whether it's visiting national parks like Jasper to see our beautiful nature that can't really be found in Tokyo, or trying activities like skating and skiing, the students have seen some of the best of what makes us Canadian. As for curling, the Japanese students certainly enjoyed trying a new activity, but found it quite challenging to do an entire sport on ice.
It's very smooth, and it's very scary, but I'm excited.
It's very interesting, but I can't ski and skating, so it is very difficult.
The exchange experience is also great for the Canadian students involved, as it helps us appreciate some things we may take for granted.
They ask, why would they want to come to Prince George? Well, these students are from Tokyo, so they've never seen a sky full of stars. They've never seen a moose. They've never seen a deer or a bear or a beaver, and all of those things is so exciting for them. But on top of that, our families who think that Prince George maybe is boring or doesn't have anything to offer, suddenly they find all these really cool things to do. Hey, did you know that we could do this in Prince George?
The exchange students will be heading back to Japan later this week, after seeing the best of what makes Canada our home. Tommy Osborne, CKPG News.
As of this morning, the lowest gas price in Prince George was sitting at $1.55.9 per liter at Costco. The lowest price in the province right now is in Salmon Arm at $1.54.9 per liter. Manitoba has the lowest fuel prices on average in the country at $1.38.3 per liter, while BC has an average price of $1.86.2 per liter.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Feed your team tonight with a delicious mix and match combo. Chicken, pizza, pasta, or dessert for just $8.99 per item.
Riley Heidt has been a fan favorite of Cougars fans ever since he was drafted back in 2020. Now today, Heidt sits as the all-time assists and points leader in franchise history, and he's on his way to being an all-time great. So we take a look now at Heidt's journey and get to know the Cougar superstar.
Growing up in Saskatchewan, hockey has always been in Riley Heidt's life. With his mom and dad playing hockey in Ringette and going to Saskatoon Blades games as a kid, it's no surprise Riley fell in love with the game.
Dad always built an outdoor rink for me and my brother and sister, and always appreciate it a lot, and I think that's where I learned most of the stuff, and my brother teaching me lots of things out there when I was younger. He's 6 years older than me, so yeah, it was always good to do that.
Fast forward to 2020 and a WHL draft that changed the Cougars franchise forever. Riley Heidt was selected second overall by the organization, who hadn't had a winning record since the 2016-17 season. While other prospects may have balked at signing a contract, Heidt was thrilled when Prince George selected him and saw a great future with the team.
Once I knew, the staff that, Lambert took over not too long ago, and then there was, some great pieces in it, so I was just excited to, be a part of the kind of rebuild, if you want to call it that, and, I think as a whole organization, we've done a good job here of turning it around, so.
Now, after a couple of years of postseason appearances, the Prince George Cougars are having their best season to date, winning the most games in franchise history, while Heidt is having the best season of his career with 114 points in just 64 games. But the eyes are on the playoffs, with Heidt knowing this team is ready to make some noise.
At the end of the day, that's what you're here for. You grind out those 70 games to get to the end goal, and that's when the fun really begins. So it's always fun. I've had a decent playoff experience now, and I think I've learned a lot throughout the last 2-3 years, and yeah, I think it's it's time, and I'm personally for sure ready, and you see in our group we're growing every day.
And while there's plenty of factors into Heidt's success with the Cougars, there is a key must-have before every hockey game.
Before the game, I always drink a little Gatorade cups. I always have. I go to the Gatorade stand 3 times before coming to the ice, and I have 3 different sips of a Gatorade, so that's a funny one.
Anthony Correa joins us now for a little hockey talk as the regular season winds down. Mr. Correa, first of all, the last time you were here, I made fun of you for being a big Portland Winterhawks fan.
That's correct.
Now, this is still an interesting situation here with the standings. So,
sorry, you're not going to correct that, though, right? I am a Cougars fan.
The biggest Portland Winterhawks fan in Prince George joining us tonight. So, Anthony, let's break this down.
Yeah.
How many games are left for both teams, and what's the situation looking like? Can the Cougars get this #1 seed?
They can. They're going to need a lot of help, and it's a typical scoreboard watching situation. So right now, as it stands, the Prince George Cougars are in first place. But Portland has 3 games to play. Prince George only has 2. So if both teams win out, it goes down to goal differential. Portland is up 4 goals. So, having 3 games, it's going to be quite an interesting situation. They play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, and the Cougars finish up their season Saturday night at home. So Sunday, many Cougars fans will be scoreboard watching, hoping that just even an overtime loss will give Prince George that #1 seed. So either score a whole bunch against Kamloops, which is entirely possible, but you have to outscore Portland against 2 weaker opponents in Tri-City and 2 against Seattle. So
now it's not out of the question that Portland could lose one of these games.
Yeah, absolutely. Seattle is a very talented team. Tri-City still has something to fight for. I personally think that doubleheader against Seattle, they end the season at Seattle, and bitter rivals, and there's still great goaltending and Scott Ratzlaff there and Niko Matovic, skilled team. So I think they could very possibly lose in overtime, maybe even regulation.
Now, what to expect here against Kamloops as we finish up the regular season?
Well, many will see this as a cakewalk, and it may be a cakewalk, but it's not the end for Kamloops. There's plenty of, young guys looking to make an impact next year, improve their draft stock. I mean, Kamloops started their most young lineup just recently in their last game, so, there's going to be a lot of young energy there, and they would love to, help Prince George not get that #1 seed, being the bitter rivals they are. The home and home worries me a little bit. Last time Prince George did fall in a shootout in Kamloops, so there should be an exciting one. Retro night Saturday night as well. That will be a very loud building, and Kamloops will love to play the villain there. But realistically, Prince George should sweep the weekend and sweep it very easily.
Now, big news for the Cougars. Their second best player, arguably their best player, Cohen Ziemer, who's been hurt since November, making his return to the lineup. How excited are you for that, and what is this going to do for this Cougars team?
Very excited. Talking to Mark Lamb, I asked him about Ziemer taking a couple warm-ups with the team on the road trip, and he's like, yeah, just wanted to get him back in, but he will play this weekend, and it is an exciting thought for Cougars fans. Adds a whole nother scoring weapon to this team, and I think the biggest impact will be on that power play. They've kind of missed a shooter from the sideboards. Andre Becker's been doing an okay job, but Ziemer and that one-timer is just a scary thought to add to that power play, and it gets even more depth for this team. Carlin Zane could move to the 3rd line, and that's a guy who would be top 2 center on any other team. So to have him in the 3rd line with Orange Strome is always a great aspect, and you can never have too much firepower in this league. You saw Seattle last year; they were absolutely stacked.
Depth in the playoffs is so key. Having 3 lines that can produce,
and that 4th line to get the energy going too, right? So,
right. Well, for your sake, let's hope the Portland Winterhawks get that #1 seed. Just kidding. Anthony Correa, thank you very much for your insight.
Yeah, thank you.
The TSX is up 41 points to close at 22,087. The Dow Jones is up 269 points to close at 39,781. And Canfor went up 37 cents to close at $17.59.
Good evening again, everyone. We're looking at a great forecast in terms of our conditions for sure. No precipitation anticipated, lots of sunshine. It does feel cooler, especially towards the overnight lows as we see some colder air pushing in, and those northwest winds are going to become quite light as we move forward into the evening. But this is our satellite map for you. And again, that nice clearing through the day. You can see most of the cloud cover really down through the southern interior for the most part today, but they cleared out quite nicely as well. Our futurecast doesn't show a whole lot. Lots happening, though, east into parts of Alberta, but things will improve a little bit, hopefully, over the coming days as snow is falling there. We've got a system coming up here from the southwest, and yes, that is bringing in some precipitation to the coastal sections, at least the south and a little bit of the central coast. But for us, we're not really in the middle of any sort of disturbances coming through. A few clouds tonight, but otherwise nice and sunny going forward. So here are the temperatures, and again, you can almost draw a line in the province as to where the sun is and where the clouds and the showers are here, but 6 degrees for us, -4 Fort St. John. So it definitely feels cooler, and again, factoring in wind chills again overnight. So it'll feel a little bit more like -12 or -13 overnight and into tomorrow morning. But clouds in Kamloops, we've got showers down through the Okanagan and the south coast as that system sweeps in. Our broadcast region looks really nice and bright, though. 4 degrees in Burns Lake, 4 in Fort St. James. We're sitting at +6 in Vanderhoof, and us as well, very close to that as as 6 or 7 degrees, so very similar forecast tomorrow as what we saw today. 9 in Quesnel, cooling down just a touch, but still some beautiful sunshine. So here's the western half of the country. Of course, we know the west coast very wet with that next system sweeping up, but -3 in Edmonton. Alberta has been bearing the brunt of most of the systems in terms of snow, so feeling much wintry over there. Still going into the day tomorrow as well, some snow showers in the mix. -3 for Regina. We're looking at colder weather throughout much of the prairies and further east as well, but we do have lots of bright sky to enjoy. And the same for us as well. So sunshine is going to be pretty much dominant over the next few days. We'll enjoy it. You might need to bundle up a little bit as we see that colder air settling in, but it's not very, very cold. It's just some of the wind chill values in the early morning and overnight periods that bring that temperature down. -8, mainly clear skies tonight in Burns Lake. We've got nothing but sunshine all the way into early next week. 4 degrees for tomorrow, 6 and 7 for the weekend. Mackenzie will be clear and cool tonight at -12, but up to +1 tomorrow with plenty of sunshine. The sunshine makes it feel so much better. So even when we are hovering just above freezing, it still makes it lovely when we can have that nice sunny sky. McBride, -10 tonight. We're looking at +5 tomorrow with mostly sunshine. Beautiful through the next several days into the weekend. Early next week, things will change just a touch. But again, that's quite far out still to predict the exact timing on any of this action here, but certainly a little bit more cloud cover maybe to start the week next week. Quesnel, we're looking at -5 overnight tonight, 9 tomorrow, clouds and sunshine. Lots of sunshine into the weekend, up to about 10 and 12 degrees, possibly by the end of the weekend and early next week. And for us as well, we're looking great, clear and cool tonight and for the next few nights, but up to 6 and 9 degrees going forward. Lots of sunny sky to enjoy.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Feed your team tonight with a delicious mix and match combo. Chicken, pizza, pasta, or dessert for just $8.99 per item.
Along with the Fill the Bus campaign, the UNBC Timberwolves Student Athlete Society is also hosting their co-ed dodgeball tournament with a prize up for grabs. All this is going towards the 2024 MVP of the month. The tournament will take place on March 26th at the Northern Sports Center from 5 to 8 p.m. Each team will have 5 to 7 players with 1 girl on the team. It's mandatory. Entry to the tournament is by donation with $500 up for grabs. It's a great fundraiser for the Student Athlete Society to help MVP Grace Calhoun. 3 teams, 3 different stars making an impact. What's different about this countdown, though, is we have plays from the Dodgers-Padres game that took place this morning. So we bring you the best from the last 24 hours in tonight's CKP3.
We start with the first home run of 2024.
3-1. High fly ball. Deep left center field. It is gone.
It's Mookie Betts starting the MLB's long balls in Korea, an absolute rocket from the Dodgers superstar. But it would be the Padres with the last laugh.
Machado drives one to deep left field. It is back and it is gone. 3-run home run for Manny Machado. A blast in Seoul, South Korea.
Manny Machado crushes a 3-run shot in the 9th inning for a big insurance marker. Padres take Game 2 between these teams. Finally, just 50 away.
Into the battle, Benoit unable to clear. Carlson walking in. Ovechkin scores. Alexander Ovechkin, 8:24.
Alex Ovechkin scores his patented one-timer and now stands just 50 goals behind Wayne Gretzky for the all-time record as the Grade 8 takes top spot in tonight's CKP3.
Hello from the CKPG Today side. Got a great one coming up over here, including a little bit of scent talk. Why, you ask? Well, maybe you can smell it over there, actually. Mill scent. We sprayed some in the studio. Smells fresh, smells nice. What does a mill smell like? Well, not the pulp mill, no. A sawmill. So a nice, sprucey, cedary smell. I've actually got it behind me on the set here. It smells really nice. And well, it's Tourism PG uses it to help attract events here. It's part of their package that they give out. So today we're going to talk about that on the show. If you were trying to get an event to come to the city, what would you give them?
I don't really have an answer for that, Caden, but I will say it's great that you sprayed that scent over there on the other side of the studio. It's wafting over here, which is lovely because it masks that funky smell that's usually coming from that side of the studio. So if you have any more of that, please leave it with me. That's all for tonight, folks. Thanks for joining us as always. And your last look tonight is a blooming pussy willow. Sign of spring arriving. Have yourselves a great night, and we see you tomorrow.